Hi, and welcome back to Old School. Today we're going to be at Empower Family Chiropractic, where we have Dr. Mike and the team. He was on the podcast a little while back, and we talked a lot about how the foundations of chiropractic are both spiritual and physical. And you all know about my healing journey and what I'm going through, and so I kind of wanted to come over here and see what Empower's doing differently than any other place we could go. So Dr. Mike is going to give us a tour today, and then we're going to go over some things and just kind of walk through a preventive situation to see what might be going on inside me that I didn't know about.
Welcome to the clinic. So we're gonna give you a quick tour so you guys can get familiar with what makes us different. So number one, we're a Max Living Clinic. What that tells you is that we look at 5 health essentials. We talked about a few of these on the podcast, but the 5 health essentials is having an empowering, understanding mindset of how your body was created to heal. Number one, looking at quality nutrition into your body, looking at putting good functional movement into your life, removing toxicity out of your life, and then obviously chiropractic care. So first thing we highlight is we have a resource center of supplements that we utilize for our patients, because if you're going to be putting nutrition into your body, you want to be supplementing with things that is regeneratively sourced, that's organic, that has no seed oils. You want to be making sure that whatever you're putting in your body is the purest form possible, and unfortunately in today's culture it's hard to find that, right? So this is one of the things that we have for our patients to make sure they're fueling their bodies with good nutrition. And then if you follow me over here, you'll notice that this is not your typical layout for a chiropractic office if you've been to chiropractors before. And one of the things that makes us, yeah, right? It's kind of like, this is what's kind of unique is we are what you would consider a scoliosis or a spinal corrective clinic. Okay. So what that means is if someone comes in and their spine is in a position the way it's not supposed to be, or if their posture is off, or if there's any misalignment that needs to be reset, that's what we focus on.
Make me stand up straight.
That's right. We can all use that, right? So as you're looking in, you'll see what's unique is we have traction units on the wall where people can decompress their spine. So if you look over here, basically we have these units here that help people to decompress their neck before the adjustments. You have these cushions on the chairs where people are doing different movements to get proper hydration and warming up their spine before the adjustment starts. So a good example is years and years ago, what they would do, you would go to a chiropractor and they would just put like a heat pack on your back, right? Or they put the muscle stim, and that was what we did a long time ago. Now we have a more active approach to where you can actively participate in warming up and hydrating your spine prior to the adjustment. So then, after people get warmed up, then they move into the adjustment room where we deliver the adjustment. So everybody gets x-rays, and we basically use those x-rays to know exactly where and what you need for the adjustment, because your adjustment and needs would be different than somebody else.
One would think, and a lot of times you go into some of the places, and I'm not going to disparage any other type of chiropractic, but you go in and it is, in our mindset, we all think it's just, and you're out the door.
Right.
And it's so fascinating because I've even seen on social media where people are talking about when you crack your own neck that you're not supposed to do that because that isn't how we were designed. And so I think that's all incorporated in a lot of what we talked about on the podcast, as well as just in general what we should be doing for our nervous system and our spine.
Yeah, so good. And you know what's funny? A lot of people, the biggest thing we hear is, well, I get adjusted, and then after my adjustment, I get back in my car, I drive home, and I feel like it kind of goes right back out again. We see that a lot, because there's the reality is that we're not doing something to support what just happened in the adjustment. So one of the things that we look at is, okay, how do we support people post-adjustment? And that's what our Vibe Center does. So if you come on this side,
it's kind of like when you go get a teeth cleaning and then you head on out and drink grape juice or something, or you do all these other things that just totally deteriorate what you just had happen. It makes perfect sense.
So there should be something to support what you just did in that room, right? So once you come here, we have these vibration plates, and there's, depending on what we're trying to correct in that person, there's different body weights that people would put on, and based off those weights, we're going to strengthen and encourage those muscles to help hold that adjustment for a longer period of time. Okay. So patients are always watching something educational on here. They're using these vibration plates to lock in that adjustment, and then that helps set them off for success afterwards.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right. So now we're gonna go take a look at what testing you do before ahead of time.
That's right.
Let's do that. I'll follow you after
go.
you, Dr. Mike. So here we are. We're going to go through some of the testing that Dr. Mike and the team do that again set them apart from everywhere else you might go. And we talked a little bit about these things when he was on the podcast, so you can go back and look at that episode and get some more information. But when he talked about the spiritual and the physical components of how our body and our soul work together, how our nervous system is all involved. So these are going to be some great tests that give him a baseline of where I am. I don't have a specific condition that I came here with today. I am a person who loves to do preventive care and go, get all my free tests because of my outlandishly high deductible on my insurance. So I go get all the free stuff. But this is so cool in that we can kind of take a look into a window of my spinal health, my nervous system health, and we're going to walk through those kind of tests. And if he comes up with something, then we're going to have some conversation about that. If he doesn't, then it's at least something that you can understand. It's just another preventive you can put in your toolkit. So what are we going to do next, Dr. Mike?
So let's talk out a little bit. So when we get started, number one, I just love when somebody's doing this from a preventive approach, because like I mentioned on the podcast, that's what the chiropractic profession was founded upon, was a preventative approach to health, right? Most of us use it for a symptom to find healing between some chronic illness or something like that, which obviously we can help do that as well. We see a lot of testimonies here that are just not your typical chiropractic testimony, which is why we share those. But ultimately, if we're looking at the body, we say, if my goal is I don't have a symptom and I want to keep my body that way, if I want to keep my body symptom free and I want to keep my body functioning at its highest level, then one of the things I always say is you have to say, if my goal is optimal function, then the question is, what is the system that controls the function of the body? And that's what we should probably get tested. Does that make sense? So,
sure, mission control.
There
Let's
we go.
do it.
So the system that does that is the nervous system. So what we look at in this office is like today's visit, we're essentially testing the overall health and wellness of your nervous system. So we do that a couple ways, but first, to help you guys understand what that means is I'm going to use a chart over here, because this chart helps me to understand, or helps patients understand, how does the body work? Because here's what I always tell people: if you want to make sure that you're either keeping your body well or getting it well from something, you have to realize, well, how did God make me? How did God design my body to work? And if we can work backwards from there, then we can make sure we get to the root of whatever that is.
What does optimal look like? Because I don't know that the term optimal could be interchangeable for everybody, but still, depending on where we're at, you got to know where you're at, but also what is it you're looking for?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this chart right here that basically describes and shows how the body works and the nervous system as a whole. So what you're looking at here is basically, if the brain and the spinal cord and the nerves is the main component of your nerve system, and that's what's sending signals to every part of your whole body. What we got to realize is that the brain is constantly sending messages down your spinal cord out through a nerve, and it's communicating life to every organ, every muscle, every cell, every tissue, everything. So for anything in your body to function, a message from your brain has to come out this cord, out a nerve, and then get to it in some way.
I'm sorry, I giggle, but I think about, when I hear those stories that you hear that we only use like 2% of our brain. So how it's no wonder that things are like malfunctioning if we're not, taking care of our brain health, so that those messages are clear and
That's huge. So now you think about, number one, so let's just start there. Number one, let's make sure the brain itself is good, right?
Right.
But then as we come down into the body, so your spine, the literal job of your spine is to, yes, hold us up so we don't fall over, right? Our spine, but it's also there to protect that nervous system. So your job of that spine is to protect the spinal cord and the nerves to make sure they're safe and well. Now what's interesting is the way God designed our anatomy is that we have to have certain alignment or curvature to that spine. So as long as you have these curvatures in the spine, there's no extra stress or strain on the nervous system. Okay?
Right.
Now, over time, if you do miss that, if that gets out of position, this is where we use something like this, where if one of these bones gets pushed out of alignment, that's gonna put pressure or inflammation or stress to the nerve. So now just play along. If that nerve decides to go straight to your thyroid, do we see how over time, if you have pressure on the nerve controlling the thyroid, eventually the thyroid is not gonna function right.
And so many people get diagnosed with dysregulation of their thyroid and just get handed some more drugs or something as opposed to taking a look holistically. Absolutely.
And so you got to realize that ultimately, if the nerve going to whatever the organ or the muscle is, if that's not functioning properly, you got to go back and start there. Otherwise, we're going to be on a vicious cycle of never getting to the root of what's wrong.
And there will never be enough drugs.
No.
Like you may start out and it may feel like a little bit of something helps, but you're going to need more and more over time because it's not actually helping anything.
Yeah. So everything we look at in our exam is saying, hey, is there anywhere in your spine where this is happening?
Right.
If in this terminology we use, whenever the spine is shifted like this, there's a terminology in chiropractic we call subluxation. And that subluxation essentially is the misalignment creating dysregulation to the nervous system. So now eventually something occurs if we don't get that corrected. So now here we go from here. So now basically we say, okay, two big concepts we want to look at is number one, the health of the nervous system, and then the overall alignment of the spine, because both are going to contribute to what's going on. So we want to say objectively, how well is the nervous system doing and how aligned is our spine? Those are the two main tests we do on this visit. So the first one we do is called an sEMG scan. So there's little guys here. This is what we use to scan the nervous system. So it's a surface electromyography. What that basically means is, as we're going up the spine...
You guys love your names. So
I know.
well.
I don't like the names. They're very long. I just like sEMG. It's nice.
Acronyms.
Yeah. And essentially, what we're looking at is going to pick up the heat coming off of your nerves throughout your spine, because the more inflamed a nerve is, it's going to put off a different level of heat. However, if you have, let's say, arthritis, well, that nerve has been compromised for so long, there's going to be less heat coming off that nerve. So it's going to pick up where there might be chronic nerve problems or more inflamed nerve problems. And we're going to find out on this scan where and how the spine is doing from there. And then from this test, we go to the next room over and then we take digital x-rays, because once we know what the nerves are doing, well, now we want to look at the alignment of the spine and find out, well, what's causing that? Why are the nerves responding that way? And overall, what are we looking at with the spine?
Perfect.
Yep.
I'm excited and nervous.
That's okay.
And my anxiety written. No, I'm kidding.
No, that's okay.
So now we're at the point where I'm going to start to get the test done, and we're going to see if I genuinely am symptom-free or condition-free. So we're going to start with Caitlin.
Hi,
I'm Michele.
Nice to meet you, Caitlin.
And we're going to do the nerve scan in here, then we'll head on over to the x-rays. So what do we do?
Okay, so for a nerve scan, I'm going to take these here and put them on different
look like
parts of your
tasers.
spine. A lot of people think that. You're not going to feel anything, so you're in the clear. You're just going to feel a little bit of cold with the metal, but I'm just going to put it on different parts of your spine, and it's going to detect heat coming from your nerves, and then we'll talk about what that means afterwards.
Okay.
All right.
And I stay clothed?
So
I assume
towards
for
the
the
bottom,
camera.
is it okay if I lift up your shirt a little bit to get to the lower parts?
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna have you stand up, and then you can just face this wall here. And then just hold still for me. I'm just gonna start up top. Perfect. Okay, a little bit lower. Can I lift up your shirt now? Is that okay? I'm just gonna get to your bra strap area, just right there. Perfect. Thank you so much. Perfect. Okay, Michele, you can go ahead and relax.
Perfect.
And we're
Well,
gonna
that
go...
was simple and painless.
It's pretty simple, yeah, pretty quick and easy. We're gonna go over your results.
Oh, wow.
So
all the red is bad?
So I'm gonna explain. So we have your spine over here on the right side, and we see a lot of red, obviously, like you said. What that red indicates is that your nerves are being pinched or under pressure, essentially, and because of that, there's a lot of heat coming from those
Every
nerves.
single one of them. Like, what is
Almost
a good
everyone.
stress score?
Honestly, your stress score is a little bit lower than what I normally see. I see a range of 400 to like 1200 or so.
Okay.
So you're on the lower end for sure. You might see some bars here that have arrows. That just indicates a potential imbalance, whether that's muscular or
It's all of them.
muscular, that's because of your nerves. And the reason this is an issue is because your brain and your spinal cord are connected, as you know.
Right.
And your nerves run through your spinal cord. And so if there's impingement going on in a lot of those places, that's where you can get issues such as what's here on the board, where you have headaches, you could have skin issues, indigestion, you name it, it all goes back to the spine. So that's why we do the nerve scan in correlation with the x-ray. That way the doctors can see exactly what's going on with your spine and how they can help clear up your nervous system to be functioning at its best.
Well, and as I was talking with Dr. Mike in the lobby too, before we started, I had just gone to my naturopath, and my markers in my lab work were talking about an inflammation, and I have gotten rid of a bunch of toxins and thought I felt less puffy almost from the things I was doing. But she brought to my attention that based on like my past, my trauma and all of that, that I had been living with some level of fear my whole life. And fear is so cellular that and all these markers were inflammatory, the lymphocytes and everything. It was so frustrating because it wasn't like I had again, coming in here, a physical symptom talking about it. So this will be interesting because when Dr. Mike and I were talking about optimal health, like addressing this, I can't even imagine how I'll feel shot out of the gate. But we'll go over all of that with Dr. Mike in the after party. So now we go do an x-ray?
Yes.
And
yes.
you're my technician
I'm
for
your
that?
gal.
All right,
I'm
let's
gonna
do
take
it.
you back there.
So here we are in the x-ray room, and Dr. Mike has come in. He's going to get us taken care of because, as we discussed previously, the spinal health and the nerve health work hand in hand. So this is what we're going to do. So what's up?
Okay, so just to reiterate, there's 4 positions or 4 x-rays we're going to take today, and we're trying to make sure that the anatomy is in an accurate alignment. So what we have this poster one more time, what we're looking for is that we're going to take an image of the neck from the side, and we want to see that curvature here. Take another image of the lower back to see that curvature here, and then we're going to take 2 from the front, one of your lower back to make sure your pelvis is evenly aligned and your spine is nice and straight, and then one from the top to make sure that the shoulders are balanced, the head is balanced, and the spine is nice and straight.
Okay.
Okay, 4 pictures.
Perfect.
So,
All right.
go ahead and have a seat here first, and we're going to face these cabinets.
Yes.
And I want you to just sit into a nice tall posture, and then let's have you slide to where your shoulders touching that little guy there. Okay, very good. So, I'm gonna line this up. Beautiful. All right, so for this picture, you're just gonna hold that posture nice and tall. Okay, here we go. And you can relax. Now,
He's okay to be in here with that going on?
yeah, this.
Oh,
So the nice
it's not
thing-
like that.
No, that's the old X-ray. So the
No more
back-
babies for Justin.
I know, you're done. Back in the day when I first started, we had the whole like, it was film, and you had the red light, and
Yeah.
you were
The
remember all
lead
that?
vest.
Yeah, and it was toxic stuff. Now, what's crazy? So they've made this machine so non-toxic that, I mean, you could X-ray somebody like almost 200 times and have no radiation effect.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, they're so good. You get more radiation from your microwave than you do from this guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
that reminds me of Everybody Loves Raymond when they'd microwave something and they'd called it standing in the microwave position.
Yeah. We do it. It's sort of weird. People stand there and they just kind of like watch.
Okay.
All right, so
I'm
this is
staying
going to
in
be,
this-
yep,
okay.
you're perfect there. So what we're going to do, we took that x-ray, now
Okay.
we're going to take this x-ray.
Okay.
So for this one, you're going to sit nice and tall, and then what you do is you're going to sit tall chest and bring your hands up just like that, and you're going to hold that posture right there.
I dream of Jeannie.
And relax.
Perfect.
Fantastic. Okay.
Okay.
Next, we're gonna get the
Standing
from the
up.
pelvis.
Okay.
Oh, no, you're good.
Oh, but I'm gonna sit straight this way.
So we're gonna sit
Ah,
there.
this thing is
And
very
a little
cushy.
wobbly. So what we're gonna do here. So now we're gonna check the pelvis alignment and the spine from here.
Okay.
So we're gonna come up a little bit. And then, best you can, try to sit up and back against there. There we go. This will be nice and even. Looks good. Hands will come rest to your side. Fantastic. Hold that right there.
It's funny, I hold my breath. You don't say that. They used to back in the day.
Once again, the machine was a lot different back
Well,
then.
and I think they wanted you to hold still, which is
Yeah.
what holding your breath would do. But
That's funny. I'm gonna have you close your eyes for just a moment. The light is a little bit bright here. So we're gonna try to find a balance here. I'm gonna move your chair a slight bit so we're here. There we go. Okay, good job. Now you can open up. Okay, this is our last picture. Now this picture, we're gonna be getting the bones behind the teeth. So for this picture, when I tell you to, you're gonna hold as still as possible, and then you're gonna open your mouth as wide as possible, but keeping your head still.
okay.
Okay? So, go ahead and hold your head real still, and then go ahead and open wide, and relax. And just like that, we're all set.
Cool. I had all my wisdom teeth taken out at the same time when I was like 18.
Oh, yeah.
And I got horrible TMJ.
Oh.
And I didn't grind my teeth during my divorce, but I clenched. And so my bite changed and I ended up with braces on and stuff.
Oh, my.
So all the like side symptoms of it, but that'd be interesting to see how
Yeah.
all of that's doing back there.
Well, the nice thing is, so all of our testing here is digital. So the beauty of that is that this gets all sent to our computers. So by the end of the day, we typically have everything analyzed and ready to present. So on our next visit, I'll be able to sit down with you and go over everything we found today.
Perfect. Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
The after party.
That's right.
Woo!